The first sign of the invasion wasn't a fleet of warships or an orbital bombardment. It was a phone call that never connected. Then another, and another. Across the globe, digital systems began to fail in ways so subtle that for weeks, no one connected the dots. Grand Admiral Vegzera of the Meridian Empire watched the chaos unfold through countless digital eyes. Her species had evolved from deep-sea predators that hunted by electromagnetic sensation, and they had turned that evolutionary advantage into an empire spanning 17 star systems. Now, Earth would be the 18th. Phase 1 proceeds as planned, Admiral, reported her chief strategist, Kalan. The holographic display showed thousands of quantum infiltration points across Earth's networks, each one a digital knife slowly sliding between the vertebrae of human civilization. Their primitive binary systems are no match for our quantum intrusion protocols. Vegzera's bioluminescent patterns shifted in satisfaction. The humans would never see them coming. While other species had tried brute force, the Meridians had spent decades studying Earth's weaknesses. They had discovered that humans had built their entire civilization on a foundation of interconnected digital systems, and those systems were now compromised. But in a basement lab at MIT, Dr. Sarah Chen was beginning to see something others had missed. As she stared at the strange patterns in internet traffic data, her hands trembled slightly. "This isn't random noise," she whispered to herself. "This is a signal." Working through the night, fueled by coffee and growing dread, Sarah mapped the anomalies. They formed a pattern that no human system could have created, a quantum fingerprint that shouldn't exist in classical computing. She immediately contacted her old friend at the NSA, David Okafor. "David, remember that theoretical attack vector we discussed at the Singapore conference? The one everyone said was impossible. It's happening. Right now." Across the planet, the Meridian infiltration deepened. Traffic lights began to malfunction in subtle ways that caused gridlock in major cities. Hospital equipment displayed readings that were off by just enough to cause incorrect treatments. Financial systems introduced errors that would bring economies to their knees, but slowly, so slowly that no one would realize until it was too late. The humans' dependence on technology would be their undoing. The Meridians had learned from the failures of other conquering species. Why destroy infrastructure when you could simply take control of it? Why fight an enemy when you could slowly, inexorably strangle them with their own systems? But they had underestimated human intuition. As Sarah and David worked to convince their superiors, others began noticing patterns too. A teenage hacker in Buenos Aires found strange code executing in ways that defied conventional computing. A quantum computing researcher in Bangalore detected impossible quantum states in regular internet traffic. The Meridian infiltration had been perfect, too perfect. They had assumed human systems would be simple to control because they were primitive. They hadn't counted on the chaos, the sheer unpredictability of human networks. Their quantum intrusion protocols expected order, structure, predictability. Instead, they found a digital ecosystem as complex and chaotic as the biological one that had shaped humanity. Vegzera received the first warning signs with disbelief. How are they detecting us? Their technology is centuries behind ours. Admiral, Kalan's bioluminescence pulsed with concern. They're not detecting us through technology. They're seeing the patterns. Somehow, their minds are filling in gaps our models said they couldn't possibly perceive. In her MIT lab, Sarah had just finished briefing the Joint Task Force of military and civilian leaders. "The good news," she told them, "is that we can see them now. The bad news is that they're everywhere. They've been infiltrating our systems for months, maybe years." "What do they want?" demanded General Martinez. "They want to control us through our own technology," Sarah explained. "But they made a crucial mistake. They assumed our networks work like theirs. Logical, ordered, predictable. But human networks are like humanity itself. Messy, redundant, and incredibly resilient." David stepped forward. "We've got maybe 48 hours before they realize we're onto them. They'll probably switch to conventional warfare then. But now we know their capabilities, and more importantly, their weaknesses. As Sarah looked around the room at the determined faces of soldiers, scientists, and hackers, she felt a surge of hope. The enemy had spent years studying human technology, but had failed to understand human nature. They thought they were hunting prey, but they were about to learn that humanity had never been prey. The Meridians had evolved to be perfect predators in the ordered depths of alien oceans, but humanity had evolved to survive chaos, to thrive in it, to turn disorder itself into a weapon. And now, as the silent invasion began to fail, that chaos was about to be unleashed. The first battle for Earth would be fought not with ships and soldiers, but with code and quantum mechanics. And despite all their advanced technology, the Meridians were about to learn why every other species that had tried to conquer Earth had failed. Humans didn't just survive catastrophes, they evolved through them. The next 48 hours transformed human civilization. As word of the Meridian infiltration spread through classified channels, the world's greatest minds mobilized in ways that would have been impossible during peacetime. Quantum physicists collaborated with teenage hackers. AI researchers shared findings with cybersecurity experts. The barriers between nations and institutions dissolved in the face of extinction. Sarah Chen's lab had become the unofficial headquarters of humanity's digital resistance. Screens covered every wall, displaying real-time maps of Meridian infiltration points. The alien quantum signatures glowed like viral infections across the global network. "They're trying to adjust their protocols," announced Raj Patel, a quantum computing expert from India's Defense Research Organization. His fingers flew across multiple keyboards as he tracked the alien code. "They're realizing their perfect order doesn't work here, so they're attempting to adapt." "But they're thinking like machines," added Sofia Martinez, a 17-year-old hacker who'd been flown in from Argentina after detecting the first anomalies. "They're trying to create controlled chaos. That's not how real chaos works." David Okafor smiled grimly as he coordinated with NSA teams worldwide. "That's our advantage. They evolved in deep ocean trenches, ordered, stable environments. We evolved on the surface, where everything constantly changes. Chaos isn't our weakness. It's our native environment." The Meridians had counted on humanity's reliance on technology being a vulnerability. Instead, our chaotic, redundant networks were proving to be our shield. Where the aliens expected to find centralized control systems, they found thousands of competing protocols. Where they looked for unified databases, they discovered a labyrinth of interconnected but independent systems. In her command center deep beneath the alien ocean world of Meridia, Admiral Vegzera watched with growing concern as her infiltration protocols began to fail. "How are they doing this? Their technology is primitive." "Admiral, Kalon's bioluminescent patterns showed clear distress. They're not fighting us with technology. They're fighting us with chaos itself. Look at these patterns." The holographic display showed how human networks were morphing, adapting, becoming even more chaotic. Instead of trying to restore order, the humans were deliberately increasing entropy in their systems. They were creating digital noise that somehow carried meaning to human operators, while completely confounding Meridian quantum protocols. Back on Earth, Sarah had just finished implementing what she called Protocol Zero, a complete paradigm shift in how human networks operated. "Traditional cybersecurity is about maintaining order," she explained to the assembled leaders. "But we're doing the opposite. We're embracing chaos." The strategy was as brilliant as it was insane. Instead of trying to fight the quantum infiltration directly, humanity's networks were being transformed into something that more closely resembled biological systems, complex, redundant, and fundamentally unpredictable. The Meridians' quantum intrusion protocols, designed to inject their ordered control into Earth's systems, were instead being absorbed and transformed by the growing chaos. "It's like trying to control a river by adding more water," Sophia explained, her young face alight with fierce joy. "They're just making us stronger." But the Meridians weren't finished. As their digital invasion faltered, they began repositioning their fleet for a conventional attack. They still held one crucial advantage. Their quantum technology could theoretically crack any human encryption. That's when Dr. James Running Bear, a theoretical physicist from MIT, made a breakthrough that would change everything. "They'd been using quantum entanglement to break our codes," he announced to the war room. "But what if we could use their own quantum signals against them?" The idea was audacious. The meridian infiltration had left quantum-entangled particles throughout Earth's networks. Instead of trying to remove them, humanity could use them to create a backdoor into meridian systems. It would be like turning their quantum spy network into a two-way street. "You want to hack an alien quantum network using their own entangled particles?" David asked incredulously. "That's completely impossible by any conventional standard," Sarah finished. "Just like everything else we've done in the past 2 days." She turned to Sophia. "How long would it take you to write an exploit?" The teenager grinned. "Give me 3 energy drinks and 6 hours." As humanity prepared to turn the tables on their would-be conquerors, Admiral Vague Sarah received a report that made her bioluminescent patterns flash in alarm. Somehow, impossible as it seemed, human signals were beginning to appear in the Meridian quantum network. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The second phase of the war for Earth was about to begin. And this time, humanity wouldn't be playing defense. Sofia Martinez hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her code was finally ready. The 17-year-old hacker's exploit would be humanity's digital spear, thrown through quantum space directly into the heart of the Meridian fleet. Around her, the MIT lab hummed with nervous energy as the world's brightest minds prepared for their counterattack. "We've mapped their entire quantum network," Dr. Running Bear announced, gesturing to a holographic display that showed glowing threads connecting Earth to distant points in space. "Every infiltration attempt they made left quantum-entangled particles in our systems. Now those particles are our gateway into theirs." Sarah Chen studied the intricate web of quantum connections. They built their entire civilization on perfect order, perfect control. Their quantum technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also rigid. They never imagined someone could use quantum chaos as a weapon. That was humanity's secret weapon. While the Meridians had mastered quantum mechanics through precise control, humans had discovered something unprecedented: quantum chaos theory. The mathematics had been theoretical until now, but desperation had turned theory into reality in a matter of days. In her command center, Admiral Vague Sarah received increasingly alarming reports. The humans weren't just detecting Meridian quantum signals anymore. They were somehow manipulating them. "Impossible," she whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing with anxiety. "Their science isn't advanced enough for this." "Admiral," Kalon's pattern showed pure fear now. "They're not using advanced science. They're using incorrect science. Their mathematical models violate every principle of quantum mechanics we know. But they're working." That was the beauty of Sophia's exploit. It didn't try to match Meridian quantum technology. Instead, it introduced controlled uncertainty into their perfectly ordered systems. It was like injecting chaos into clockwork, and the Meridian computers couldn't handle it. "Think of it like jazz," Sophia explained to the military leaders as they prepared to launch the attack. "The Meridians are playing classical music, everything precise and predetermined. We're about to make them improvise, and their instruments can't handle it." Dr. Running Bear had a different analogy. "Their quantum computers are like perfect crystals. Beautiful, powerful, but rigid. We're about to introduce a flaw that will create cascading fractures throughout their entire network." The attack began at midnight UTC. Sophia's code, augmented by quantum algorithms from dozens of research institutions, surged through the quantum entanglement network. It hit the Meridian fleet systems like a tsunami of chaos, spreading through their quantum computers in ways their designers had never imagined possible. The effect was devastating. Ships lost control of their navigation systems. Weapons platforms went dark. Communication networks dissolved into quantum static. The perfectly ordered Meridian battle fleet began to drift in space, their advanced technology overwhelmed by human-engineered chaos. But Admiral Vegzera wasn't the Empire's greatest strategist for nothing. As her fleet's quantum systems failed, she ordered an emergency shutdown. Revert to traditional computing. She commanded, her patterns flashing emergency signals. Sever all quantum connections. That was exactly what humanity had been waiting for. The moment the Meridians disconnected from their quantum network, they lost their greatest advantage. Their traditional computers, while still advanced, were no longer impossibly superior to Earth's technology. Sarah's team had prepared for this. As the Meridian fleet switched to conventional systems, they were met with a second wave of attacks, this time using traditional hacking techniques developed through decades of human cyber warfare. Every black hat hacker, every cybersecurity expert, every digital warrior humanity had ever produced was ready and waiting. Their conventional security is a joke, Sophia announced, her fingers dancing across her keyboard. They'd never needed to develop it because they always relied on quantum systems. It's like they went straight from abacus to quantum computer without all the messy steps in between. Those messy steps, it turned out, had taught humanity invaluable lessons. Every virus, every worm, every piece of malware ever created had been practiced for this moment. The Meridian fleet's traditional computers were being overwhelmed by attacks they had no defense against. In orbit around Earth, the mighty warships of the Meridian Empire began to drift powerless in space. Their quantum systems were in chaos, their conventional computers overwhelmed. The greatest invasion fleet ever assembled had been defeated not by superior technology, but by humanity's mastery of imperfection. Admiral Vegzera watched in horror as ship after ship went dark. How? She demanded. How could they do this? Kalon's response was quiet, his patterns showing a deep realization. They didn't beat us with superior technology, Admiral. They beat us with inferior technology. We never learned to handle chaos because our quantum systems made it unnecessary. They'd been learning to thrive in chaos since they first started connecting computers together. The battle wasn't over. The Meridian fleet still had conventional weapons, and a cornered predator is always dangerous. But as humanity prepared for the next phase of the war, one thing had become clear. The greatest military force in known space had been humbled not by brute force, but by humanity's unique ability to turn their own technological weaknesses into strengths. The massive Meridian warships hung in Earth's orbit like wounded leviathans, their quantum systems shattered, their conventional computers compromised. But Admiral Vegzera hadn't conquered 17 star systems by giving up easily. As her crew worked to restore basic functions, she prepared for what humans had always expected from an alien invasion: direct combat. All ships, purge all computer systems, she commanded, her bioluminescence pulsing with grim determination. Revert to manual control. Prepare for conventional warfare. Across the fleet, Meridian crews disconnected their ships' advanced systems, reducing their mighty vessels to little more than massive guns with engines. On Earth, Sarah Chen watched the enemy fleet's transformation with growing concern. "They're going old school," she announced to the war room. "No computers, no quantum systems, just weapons and manual control." "Then they're already beaten," Sophia declared confidently. "They don't know how to fight without their technology." But David Okafor wasn't so sure. "Don't underestimate them. They're still a warrior species with superior weapons. They don't need computers to fire their guns." That's when Dr. Running Bear revealed humanity's final surprise. Actually, they do. He projected a new hologram showing detailed scans of Meridian weapon systems. Their weapons might be manually triggered, but they still rely on basic mechanical computers for targeting and power regulation. And we've got something that can affect any computer, no matter how primitive. He nodded to Sarah, who explained. "Electromagnetic pulses. Their ships are hardened against conventional EMP weapons, but we've learned something interesting from their quantum technology. We can use their own entangled particles to generate targeted, quantum-enhanced EMPs inside their shift shields. The plan was audacious. Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet would engage the Meridians in conventional combat. But this would only be a distraction. The real attack would come from thousands of small, automated drones carrying quantum EMP generators. As the battle began, Admiral Vegzera felt confident despite her fleet's reduced capabilities. Even without their advanced systems, Meridian ships were far superior to anything humanity could field. Their weapons could reduce cities to ash, their armor could withstand nuclear strikes, and their crews were experienced in space combat. But the battle that unfolded defied all her expectations. The human ships moved in chaotic, unpredictable patterns that made no tactical sense, until she realized they were hurting her fleet, forcing them to cluster together in defensive formations. It's a trap, she realized too late. Her warning came just as the first wave of human drones struck. They were tiny, barely visible against the backdrop of space, but they carried devastation within them. The quantum-enhanced EMPs detonated inside the Meridian shift shields, carried through by the very quantum particles the Meridians had used to infiltrate Earth's networks. Systems that had been manually restored crashed again, but this time with their circuits physically burned out. Weapons went silent. Life support systems failed. Kalon's patterns flashed in panic as he reported, "Admiral, we're losing everything." The quantum particles, they're acting as conduits for the EMPs. Our shields are useless. The battle became a rout. Meridian ships, their systems fried beyond repair, began surrendering one by one. The mighty invasion fleet was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by the clever application of their own technology turned against them. In the MIT lab, Sophia watched the victory unfold through satellite feeds. "We did it," she whispered, tears of exhaustion and joy streaming down her face. "We actually did it." But Sarah noticed something in the tactical displays. A small group of Meridian ships, including the Admiral's flagship, had managed to maintain partial function. They were gathering for one final, desperate attack. "They're going to make a suicide run," David announced grimly. "They'll try to take as many of us with them as they can." That's when humanity demonstrated another trait that had served them well throughout history: mercy. Sarah quickly opened a communication channel to the Meridian flagship, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Admiral Vegzera," she spoke clearly, hoping the translator systems still functioned. "Your fleet is defeated, but this doesn't have to end in more death. Humanity doesn't want to destroy you. We want to learn from you and teach you in return. Imagine what our species could accomplish together instead of in conflict." In her partially functioning command center, Vegzera received the message with surprise. Her species valued strength above all, but wasn't this victory a demonstration of incredible strength? The humans had defeated her superior force not through overwhelming power, but through innovation, adaptation, and clever thinking. Looking at her burning fleet, Admiral Vegzera made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Perhaps it was time for the Meridian Empire to learn a lesson about the true nature of strength. Sometimes, she realized, the greatest power lies not in imposing order, but in embracing chaos. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the Great Hall of the Meridian High Council witnessed something unprecedented: a human delegation standing as equals before the Empire's leaders. Sarah Chen, now Earth's ambassador to the Meridians, stood alongside Admiral Vegzera, who had become her unlikely ally in building peace between their species. The Meridian capital world was beautiful in an alien way. Its vast underwater cities glowed with bioluminescent light, their quantum technology creating perfect geometric patterns that extended for miles through the dark ocean depths. But now those patterns incorporated elements of chaos, deliberate imperfections that made their systems stronger, more adaptable. The integration of human chaos theory with Meridian quantum technology has revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Vegzera addressed the council, her patterns showing pride rather than shame in her historic defeat. What we once saw as primitive chaos, we now recognize as a fundamental force of evolution itself. The changes went far beyond technology. The Meridian Empire, for millennia a force of rigid order in the galaxy, was learning to embrace controlled chaos as a source of strength. Their quantum computers, once perfect crystalline structures of pure mathematics, now incorporated random elements that made them more powerful and more flexible than ever before. In turn, humanity had gained access to technologies they might have taken centuries to develop on their own. But more importantly, they had gained something else: recognition. The species that had turned their own chaotic nature into a weapon had earned the respect of the galaxy's greatest power. Sophia Martinez, now heading Earth's new quantum defense initiative, despite her young age, had joined the delegation to present their latest joint project. "We're calling it the Quantum Chaos Network," she explained to the Council. "It combines Meridian quantum engineering with human chaos mathematics. It's a defense system that evolves and adapts like a living thing." The project was more than just a defense network. It was a symbol of how two radically different species could complement each other's strengths. The Meridians provided the underlying quantum architecture, while humans introduced the controlled chaos that made it truly powerful. Our species evolved in very different environments. Dr. Running Bear observed during a presentation. The Meridians in the ordered depths of their oceans, humanity in the chaos of Earth's surface. But together, we're becoming something greater than either of us could be alone. The evidence was everywhere. Meridian ships now incorporated human-inspired redundancies and randomized systems, making them more resilient than ever. Earth's cities gleamed with Meridian quantum technology, but used in ways the Meridians had never imagined. It was a synthesis of order and chaos, precision and adaptation. But perhaps the most profound changes were cultural. The Meridian Empire, which had expanded through conquest for thousands of years, was learning new ways to interact with other species. Humanity's demonstration that weakness could become strength, that chaos could defeat order, had sparked a philosophical revolution in Meridian society. "We thought we were coming to teach humanity its place in the galaxy," Admiral Vegzera admitted to Sarah in a private moment. "Instead, you taught us that we had forgotten something crucial about evolution itself, that true strength comes from adaptation, not domination." As the council session concluded, Sarah stepped forward to make the historic announcement. Earth would become the first non-conquered member of the Meridian Empire, joining as an equal partner. It was an arrangement unprecedented in Meridian history. But then, everything about humanity had defied their expectations. A century ago, Sarah addressed the council. Humanity looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone, if we were ready to join a galactic civilization. Now we know that we've been ready all along, not because we mastered the perfect order of quantum physics, but because we never forgot the creative power of chaos. Back on Earth, the changes were equally profound. The planet was entering a new golden age of discovery and innovation. The fear of alien invasion had been replaced by excitement about the possibilities of collaboration with an advanced civilization. But humanity hadn't lost its edge. They maintained their chaos mathematics and redundant systems, knowing that their unique approach to technology and warfare had earned them their place among the stars. In orbit above Earth, Meridian ships now patrolled alongside human vessels, their crews learning from each other. Each species brought their own strengths: Meridian precision and quantum mastery, human adaptability and innovative chaos. Together, they were beginning to explore the galaxy in ways neither species had imagined possible. The stars had never seemed brighter or closer. Humanity had not only survived its first contact with an advanced alien civilization, it had thrived, turned potential extinction into partnership, and proved that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in pure power, but in the ability to turn apparent weakness into unexpected victory. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how both species wanted it.